She was just a small-town girl with a haunted past. He was a powerful CEO hiding scars of his own. When fate forced their paths to collide, neither expected the storm of secrets, betrayal, and forbidden love that would follow. This is the story of Elena, a woman who risked everything to save the man who once broke her, and of Jace, the man who never knew he needed saving. Their journey will break your heart, then piece it back together. Where are you watching from? Drop your city below, and don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable love stories that will leave you breathless. Elena Carter darted across the marble floor in heels that weren't made for speed. Her breath caught as she burst through the massive glass doors of the Hale Grand Ballroom, her invitation clutched in one hand, her long auburn curls bouncing behind her. She was 30 minutes late, thanks to a bus that broke down and a cab that never showed up. But tonight, she wasn't going to let anything stop her from attending the university scholarship gala, her one chance to network with people who might fund her final year of college. What she didn't realize was she'd just walked into the wrong event. The chandeliers above sparkled like diamonds. Waiters in black ties moved with silent grace, serving glasses of champagne and amuse-bouche topped with caviar. The music was classical, too elegant for a university function, but Elena was too dazzled by the decor to notice. She crossed the room, determined to blend in, when her elbow knocked into a passing waiter's tray. The wine glass tipped, splashing red across the tailored charcoal suit of a man who had clearly never been bumped into in his life. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she gasped, grabbing a napkin from the tray to blot his lapel. The man didn't move. He just stared down at her with piercing, storm-gray eyes, his jaw clenched, his lips pressed into a thin line. His hair was sleek and dark, his presence magnetic and cold. And when he finally spoke, it was with ice-laced precision. "Do you know how much this jacket cost?" Probably more than my tuition," Elena muttered, her cheeks burning. A ripple of laughter passed through the crowd, but not from him. His gaze stayed locked on her, calculating. Something in his expression shifted, not amusement, but interest. "You don't belong here," he said flatly. "I thought this was the Hale University Scholarship Gala." "This," he said, brushing the wine from his sleeve, "is the Hale Tech Shareholder Benefit Dinner. The gala is 2 floors down." Elena's stomach dropped. "Right, I'll just go then." But before she could flee, his hand reached out, not roughly, but firm enough to stop her. "Wait." She froze. Around them, conversations continued, glasses clinked, and the orchestra swelled. But Elena felt like she was standing in a spotlight. The man's gaze roamed her face, studying her as if trying to remember something lost. "What's your name?" he asked. Elena Carter." He said nothing, just nodded, almost imperceptibly. Then, to her surprise, he turned to his assistant, who had appeared out of nowhere. "Have someone look into her." Excuse me?" Elena blinked. The man didn't respond. He simply walked away, leaving her standing in a sea of strangers, her heart pounding, her mind racing. She didn't sleep much that night, or the night after. 2 days later, a call came. A woman named Cheryl, from Hale Corp HR, said they'd reviewed her resume from a recent internship fair and were offering her a paid temporary assistant position at their downtown office. Elena had never even applied, but the salary was more than anything she'd made waitressing, and it came with benefits. For her aunt's hospital bills and her own survival, she couldn't say no. When she walked into the sleek, steel and glass lobby of Hale Corp, she spotted him again. Lucas Hale. The man from the ballroom, the billionaire CEO, the coldest man she'd ever met, and the one who, for some inexplicable reason, had brought her into his world. He didn't look at her that day. Not directly, but she felt his presence, sharp and suffocating, like standing too close to a fire without ever feeling its warmth. And somehow, even though she didn't know him, something in her chest whispered that their lives had crossed long before that wine stain ever did. Something she'd forgotten, something he never had. Elena adjusted the collar of her borrowed blazer and stepped off the elevator into the 12th floor of Hale Corp, clutching a clipboard like a shield. Her first week had been a whirlwind of onboarding sessions, endless policy documents, and trying not to trip in front of anyone important. But no matter how hard she tried to stay invisible, she kept finding herself face to face with Lucas Hale. He never spoke much, just passing glances and unreadable nods. Yet every time their eyes met, Elena felt something coil in her chest. Not fear exactly, but tension. The kind that hums under your skin like the air before a storm. Today was worse. His assistant had called her in to help coordinate a confidential pitch meeting. "Just set up the conference room," Cheryl had said, handing her a USB drive. "Plug this into the presentation system. Don't look at the files." Easy enough, until the folder opened by itself the moment she inserted the drive. Elena's eyes flicked toward the door. Empty. Curiosity pricked her. She scrolled down and clicked one file. A confidential development blueprint for a new AI interface that wasn't supposed to launch for another year. Her stomach flipped. She clicked out of it immediately, yanked the drive from the port, and that was when the door opened. Lucas stood there, expression unreadable. "You looked," he said. "Not a question. Just for a second. I didn't mean to. I don't need excuses, Miss Carter. I need people who follow instructions." His voice was low, lethal, and she felt about an inch tall. "I understand. You can let me go." He stared at her, eyes searching again. But instead of anger, something else flickered behind them. Hesitation? Doubt? "I'm not firing you," he said finally. "But from now on you report directly to me." Her breath caught. "What? Why?" "Because I don't believe in coincidences," he said, already walking past her. From that day forward, Elena's job shifted dramatically. She now sat in on meetings she didn't understand, took notes that included more acronyms than real words, and was often asked to sign NDAs before even fetching coffee. The other assistants started whispering, "Who was this girl?" Some speculated she was his mistress, others thought she was a spy. Elena knew neither was true, but even she couldn't explain why she was still there. It didn't help that Lucas remained a mystery. One moment he'd be distant and cold, barking orders without looking up. The next, he'd be silently observing her, as if waiting for something she didn't know she was supposed to do. Then came the night she found him on the rooftop. She hadn't meant to intrude. The office had emptied after midnight, but Elena stayed late, trying to decipher the complicated structure of a new investor portfolio Lucas had asked her to summarize. Her eyes were sore, her brain fried, and when she stepped out for air, she found him standing by the edge, city lights flickering below. He didn't turn when she approached, just said, "Do you ever feel like this city is too loud to hear yourself think?" "All the time," she replied, before she could stop herself. That made him look at her. Really look. "You surprise me," he said softly. "You're not like the others." She gave a shaky laugh. "Because I spill wine and open files I shouldn't?" "No," he said, stepping closer, voice low. "Because you don't pretend, you don't flatter me, and for some damn reason, I don't want to push you away." Elena swallowed hard. She should have stepped back, but instead she asked, "Then what do you want to do?" Lucas didn't answer. He just looked down at the skyline again, eyes heavy with something far older than his 32 years. Regret, memory, maybe even guilt. And in that moment, Elena knew this job wasn't just a job anymore. Something had started, something dangerous. Elena's days blurred into a rhythm of urgency and unspoken tension. Working under Lucas Hale was like walking a tightrope, no room for missteps, no second chances. Yet, she found herself becoming disturbingly good at it. She memorized his calendar down to the minute, predicted his needs before he voiced them, and learned how to decode his curt one-word messages into actual strategy. Somewhere in the chaos they slipped into a strange synchronization. Two wildly different people navigating the same storm. But the closer she got to him professionally, the more cracks she noticed in his perfectly sculpted persona. He barely slept. She knew because she'd get emails from him at 3 a.m. with edits on documents she hadn't even submitted yet. He rarely ate unless she placed food in front of him. And then there were his absences, long, unexplained hours when no one could reach him, not even Cheryl. Elena tried not to ask, but she was always curious. One rainy evening, she stayed behind to finish sorting contracts for a key acquisition Lucas had entrusted her with. Her fingers were numb from typing when she saw the alert, a flagged payment made to an unknown account offshore, connected to Hale Corp, but routed through a fake shell company. The name listed? Viridian Holdings. Her heart dropped. She remembered it. That name had appeared once, briefly on a document Lucas had asked her to destroy weeks ago. Elena froze. Was this embezzlement? Laundering? A cover-up? She almost didn't hear him come in. "You shouldn't be here this late." His voice was calm, but there was an edge, like piano wire pulled taut. "I was just finishing these contracts," she lied, flipping a folder over the screen. Lucas moved closer. His eyes didn't miss a thing. "Elena, look at me." She hesitated, then met his gaze. "You saw something." Her silence was answer enough. Lucas exhaled, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "You're too smart for your own good." "Then tell me what it is," she whispered. "Tell me why your name is on a transfer that leads to a ghost company." His expression changed. Not fear, not anger, but something heavier. Burdened. He didn't answer, not then. But the next morning a black car was waiting for her outside her apartment. No message. Just a driver who said, "Mr. Hale needs to see you." The address they drove to wasn't Hale Corp. It was an unmarked building in the industrial district. Inside, a hidden elevator descended 3 floors beneath ground level. What Elena walked into was nothing short of a classified operation. Walls of encrypted monitors, analysts running simulations, and a war room of confidential intel. Lucas was waiting by a screen. "Welcome to the part of Hale Corp no one knows exists," he said quietly. "I thought we were a tech firm," Elena said, blinking. "We are, but we're also watchdogs. My father started Viridian as a covert division to track dark money and corporate corruption. Everything the public sees is a facade. What you found, it wasn't a crime, it was bait." He pulled up a map, revealing a web of transactions leading to multiple government-linked firms. "This is bigger than me, or you," he said. "But now that you know, you're part of it." Elena's breath caught. She wasn't sure whether to feel honored or terrified. Lucas stepped closer. "You're not just my assistant anymore. You're in this, and if you stay, it's going to get dangerous." She should have said no. She should have walked away. Instead, she straightened her spine and said, "Then tell me what I need to do." Lucas gave a faint smile, tired but real. And in that moment, something between them shifted again. Not just trust, but allegiance. Whatever this was, whatever storm was coming, they'd face it together. The moment Elena crossed that invisible line, from assistant to co-conspirator, her world stopped operating by normal rules. Each morning brought a new threat, each night a new decision. Stay or run. And yet, she stayed. Not just because of curiosity or principle, but because of Lucas. Working together in the shadows of Hale Corp changed them both. Gone was the arrogant, emotionally distant CEO. In his place stood a man burdened by secrets, driven by purpose, and haunted by the ghosts of a mission his late father never finished. And gone was the timid assistant who once stammered during presentations. Elena had grown sharper, more daring. She spoke with conviction in high-stakes meetings, challenged him in private strategy rooms, and earned the quiet respect of operatives who once rolled their eyes at the intern girl. But not everyone welcomed her involvement. One day, during a classified meeting, Lucas had to step out to take a call from the State Department. Elena remained, reviewing intel files. A senior analyst, Morgan Black, leaned in and whispered coldly, "You don't belong here, you're not trained, and you're going to get him killed." The words pierced deeper than she let on. But Elena didn't flinch. She simply looked him in the eye and replied, "Maybe, but I'd rather fail trying to protect him than sit behind a desk pretending I don't care." Later that night, Lucas found her alone on the rooftop of the Hale Corp tower, watching the city shimmer below. The wind whipped her hair around her face, but she didn't seem to notice. "You're shaking," he said softly, taking off his coat and draping it over her shoulders. "It's not the cold," she whispered. "They don't think I belong." Lucas was silent for a moment. Then he turned her toward him. "Let me be clear, Elena. You've saved me more than once. You belong with me. In this, in everything." She swallowed hard, afraid to interpret what everything meant. But in his eyes, she saw something unspoken. A quiet reverence. A flicker of something that looked dangerously close to love. It was the first time she didn't look away. Their closeness deepened in ways neither fully acknowledged. A brush of hands while analyzing security footage. Late nights sharing takeout while cross-referencing encrypted files. Laughter in dark moments. Shoulders leaned against each other in silence. It wasn't just tension anymore. It was intimacy. Fragile, real, and completely off limits. Then everything shattered. During an undercover operation Lucas personally oversaw, targeting a billionaire philanthropist suspected of funding international trafficking, something went wrong. The target's security team had been tipped off. The safe house was breached. and Lucas disappeared. The last footage showed him bleeding, hands zip-tied, shoved into the back of an unmarked SUV. When the news reached the Hale Corp base, panic erupted. Elena stood frozen, heart pounding, as agents scrambled to triangulate signals, contact moles, and negotiate a ransom that never came. She waited hours, then days. No word, no body, no hope. But Elena refused to believe he was dead. She pored through every file he'd ever trusted her with, replayed every conversation, and then she found it. Buried deep in a backup server, an emergency protocol labeled Echo Directive, designed by Lucas, meant for one person only. Her. It contained coordinates, a timed sequence, a passcode, her birthday. Without hesitation, Elena packed her bag, slipped into the black market tracker gear she never thought she'd wear, and vanished from Hale Corp. The board assumed she cracked. The press speculated scandal. They were all wrong. She wasn't running away. She was going to find him, or die trying. The jungle didn't sleep. It pulsed with heat, with the buzz of insects and the soft prowl of unseen predators. Elena hadn't slept either, not for days. Her boots were torn, her hands blistered, and her mind ran on sheer adrenaline and fragments of hope. She had followed the Echo Directive across 3 borders, trading secrets and favors in underground networks that didn't operate on currency but on trust, fear, and power. Each stop on the map brought her closer. Each whisper of Lucas's possible location more dangerous than the last, and yet she never turned back. The final coordinates led her deep into a remote jungle in Cambodia, off the grid, off the radar, a place even the most hardened mercenaries avoided. But Lucas was there. She could feel it in her bones. A compound, hidden by dense foliage and guarded by men who didn't speak. It wasn't just a prison. It was a graveyard for secrets too powerful to escape. She waited until nightfall. Every lesson Lucas had taught her, every silent glance during late-night operations, every warning in his voice came back like muscle memory. She scaled the fence, disarmed a guard, slipped into the shadows like breath on glass, and then, in a windowless room beneath layers of concrete, she found him. He was thinner, bruised, half-conscious, but alive. "Lucas," she whispered, kneeling beside him, "it's me." His eyes opened slowly, and for a second, he didn't believe it. "Elena?" Tears welled in her throat. "I found you." He tried to sit up, but winced. "You weren't supposed to come. They'll kill you." "I didn't come this far to leave you behind." With trembling fingers, she picked the lock on his restraints. The moment his hand was free, he reached for her face, just to touch her, to make sure she was real. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the danger, not the mission. Just the two of them, in the heart of hell, together. But hell was waking up. A sensor tripped, alarms blared, floodlights cut through the trees outside. "They know," he rasped. "I planned for it," she said, helping him to his feet. "We have one shot." Outside, a smoke grenade detonated, courtesy of the extraction team she'd bribed in Thailand. Gunfire erupted. Shouts. Chaos. But Elena moved through it all like a storm she was born to ride. They made it to the tree line. A helicopter roared overhead. Hands reached down. Death pulled them up. The last thing she saw before the jungle disappeared beneath them was fire. Back in the States, Lucas was rushed into surgery. Elena never left the hospital. When he finally stabilized, he found her asleep in a chair, arms folded, her face pale with exhaustion. He didn't wake her, just watched her breathe and let the weight of everything finally collapse. 3 weeks later, Hale Corp held a press conference. Lucas, thinner but unbroken, thanked global forces and key operatives for his rescue. He didn't mention Elena by name, but she stood in the back wearing black, unseen by most, but not by him. That night he knocked on her apartment door. No security, no driver, just Lucas. "I wanted to say it without cameras or code," he said. "Say what?" "That you saved me, not just from them, from the life I thought I had to live alone." She stepped aside. He walked in, and when the door closed, the weight of silence shifted. No more games, no more secrets, just them, and a world they would face, together. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't found in muscle or power. It's found in loyalty, love, and the refusal to give up on someone, even when the world says it's hopeless. Elena's journey was more than just a rescue mission. It was a testament to what we're capable of when we follow our hearts with relentless courage. She risked everything. Her career, her freedom, her life, not because she was reckless, but because some people are worth crossing every line for. This story reminds us that loyalty doesn't always wear a uniform, and real heroes often operate in silence. It teaches us that love doesn't just mean being there during the good times, it means running headfirst into danger when the person you care about is lost in darkness. In a world full of selfishness and fear, choosing to fight for someone else, no matter the cost, is an act of rebellion and of hope. It also shows that healing doesn't come in grand moments, but in small, honest ones, in quiet conversations, shared looks, and unspoken promises. And that no matter how broken someone seems, with the right person beside them, they can always find their way back. Where are you watching this story from? Drop your city in the comments. I'd love to know where our community reaches. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of something real in your own life, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next powerful chapter. We have more heart-gripping stories coming your way. True, raw, and unforgettable.